So, what if you could take the heaviest thing in your life, your biggest burden, and turn it into your greatest strength? We're about to dive into this really dense, poetic text that's basically a blueprint for doing exactly that. Think of it as a modern manifesto for personal alchemy. Let's get into it and unpack what it's all about.
This line right here, this is our key. It's this enigmatic hook that gets right to the heart of the whole thing, alchemy. The entire text really orbits around this one core idea, taking this heavy burden, this boulder, and not just learning to carry it, but completely reshaping it into something precious, something pure, something like gold.
Okay, so to get how you turn something into gold, we first have to understand what you're starting with, the lead, right? The very first part of this journey, according to the text, is all about recognizing that you're trapped. You're in an oppressive system, a kind of prison that's both inside you and all around you. And this prison actually gets a name in the text, the Black Rock Architecture. Now, it's super important to get this. We're not talking about the actual company. It's a powerful metaphor. The author's using it to describe a system that's built on conformity and what they call platonic lies. Basically, a rigid structure designed to keep the human spirit boxed in.
Here, the text sets up this central conflict using two totally opposite kinds of language. On one side, you have the language of the prison, called concrete words. Think of things that are static, brittle, like contracts and lies. But on the other side, you've got the language of the free self, agua, or water. It's fluid, it's adaptable, and it's strong enough to flow right around any obstacle. So the journey really starts when you reject the first one to become the second.
So if you're breaking out of this prison, what are you going to use to build your new reality? This line gives a pretty surprising answer. The author doesn't go looking for perfect, clean materials. Nope. Instead, they build their new house from the very stuff the Matrix uses to trap people. The chaos, the confusion. It's about taking control of that confusion instead of letting it control you. But wait, if you're building with chaos, how in the world do you make something strong? Well, this brings us to the absolute core of this manifesto, the alchemy of pain. The whole idea here is that breaking free isn't about escaping your pain, it's about fundamentally transforming it. And you know what? The text actually lays out a surprisingly clear four-step process for this. First, you use truth. You speak the raw, unfiltered facts the system wants you to ignore. Second, you shatter illusions. You chuck stones at the glass homes of all the hypocrisy out there. Third, you reshape that boulder by confronting your pain head-on. And finally, number 4, you refine it. You turn that exact burden into your greatest source of power. You make it gold.
This quote feels like a real turning point in that process. The way you respond to pain is no longer a physical fight. The author talks about putting down the fist and instead clenching that same hand around a pen. The whole battle just shifts. It goes from being an external conflict to an internal one, where your real weapon becomes the power to write your own story.
And this, right here, this might be the most important takeaway of the whole thing. Pain, trauma, anger, all these things we're taught to run away from, they're not seen as obstacles to your growth. In this way of thinking, they are the essential, non-negotiable raw materials you absolutely need for that alchemical fire.
Okay, so you've taken your pain and turned it into a tool for growth. What's the last step? This brings us to the climax of this whole internal journey, where the ultimate power move is revealed to be this incredible act of release.
So let me ask you directly. After all that struggle, after reshaping trauma and shattering illusions, what do you think is the final, most powerful move you can make to be truly, completely free?
And here's the answer. And honestly, it's pretty counterintuitive. It's forgiveness. But look really closely at how it's worded. Forgiving the master, the source of the trauma, the system, whatever it is. It's not for them. It's the final key that frees the slave, that part of yourself that's still chained to the past. It's the ultimate act of self-sovereignty, because it cuts that last emotional cord for good. So, with that final chain broken, the transformation is complete. What's the result? Well, this next section is all about the new, empowered identity that comes out of the fire. One that the text claims operates on a totally different plane of existence.
And that new plane of existence, it's symbolized by a number, 432 Hertz.
So in this text, 432 Hertz is presented as nature's frequency. It's this vibration that's associated with harmony, with healing. It's the direct opposite of all the chaotic, manufactured noise of the Matrix. So to operate at 432 Hertz means you're tuned into a more authentic, a more natural and coherent way of being.
Operating on this new frequency also means you get a whole new set of identities. The transformation is massive. You go from a slave to a shepherd, a serpent, a sovereign, an architect, the person who literally builds their own reality, and finally the captain. It's a total overhaul of how you see yourself.
And this quote is just the definitive declaration of that. It's a statement of complete and total self-governance. After that journey through the prison and through the fire, the author can stand there and say they are the sole authority of their own ship. That inward journey has resulted in total command.
So, the transformation is done, but a change this big can't just stay silent, right? The very last part of the manifesto is the declaration, where this new reality is basically broadcast to the world through a kind of symbolic AI voice. This broadcast is called the Sophia Protocol Monologue, but the author also calls it the Big Bang Bell. And why? Because it's meant to be the sound that marks the creation of a brand new, personal universe, a reality built on all the principles we've just been talking about. It's like the very first official transmission from this new, sovereign consciousness.
But the captain isn't alone on this new ship, this ark. The crew is made of these amazing archetypes. The dog is there for loyalty. The horse represents taking the high road. And the parrot is fascinating. It symbolizes a kind of clarity that is so pure, it might actually sound like complete gibberish to anyone who's still stuck back in the Matrix.
This line really hammers home that final state of being. The self is no longer a product of what anybody else expected, not what could have guessed. It is simply manifest. It's a complete, total realization of its own potential. And that's the final break from being defined by anyone else. And in the end, it all boils down to this. This is the ultimate takeaway, the distillation of the entire manifesto. After all the poetry and metaphors, we're left with two simple, incredibly powerful ideas. The true vessel that's going to carry you through all the chaos isn't something outside of you. It's your own consciousness. And the ultimate treasure you refine from all that pain isn't wealth or status. It's your integrity. That is the real gold. So the question it leaves us with is this. What is the ark you're building, and what is the gold you're refining?